Frank Stanisci, and this is Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV Channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me is the one and the only Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Frank?
Much better. I had to take a COVID test yesterday just because people were concerned for my well-being, and I didn't want to be rude and not have one, and also wanted for the sake of just knowing that I did or did not have COVID would have been a good idea to find out. I pretty much knew I didn't have COVID because I've been working outside. See the turtleneck now? I was working
Very
outside
nice.
in the cold, and I worked out there a little bit with a T-shirt. I was sweaty, and I paid the price. I got the chills. I couldn't get rid of them. I ended up with a high fever and had to cancel the CFL show. That's how bad it got. But
That's unfortunate.
I'm fully recovered now, physically. Mentally, I still have the same deranged problems I've always had. But you know what? We can't be
Consistency.
perfect. We can't be perfect. We have to have. So just to keep things interesting. All right. So let's talk about sports first. So the Raptors are out on their way out. They don't look like they stand a chance. But that Embiid's a dirty player. You don't hit 3-4 people by accident.
No, I'm amazed at how frequently he just happens to run into people out there and cause injury. I mean, I get it, dude. You're 7 foot and 240 pounds, and sometimes it's hard, but come on, man. I mean, the good thing is, though, it's technically speaking not a playoff series until you lose at home. So the Raptors, if they can win both games and head back to Philly tied 2-2, we're in a good position.
Let's start with one and then go
Yeah,
from
I'll go with winning this.
Start
I'll
with
go with winning
one.
the first game.
Win that first one, and then we'll talk about the second one. But all my best wishes to the Raptors, and this seems to be the problem for them. It really is the physicality. Ironically, the other team that the MLSE owns, the Leafs, have had that problem for years, and now the Raptors, for some reason, I guess Ibaka is missed. You need a big guy with a temper, right?
Occasionally you do. I mean, it's all well and good to have guys like Siakam and Barnes and Precious getting points for you, but you need somebody in the paint to knock bodies around, and that's something that they're unfortunately missing.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they can come up with Coach Nurse has a great reputation for game plans. Unfortunately, the game plan for game 2 didn't work. Let's see if it works for game 3 coming up in the next, I think tomorrow. The Riders, let's go to the CFL. They were busy.
Yeah, they signed a TJ Morrison. Morrison was signed by the Las Vegas Raiders as an undrafted free agent in 2021. But yeah, he's a defensive back at 5'10", 190 pounds. So he's not much bigger than I am, but he's probably a heck of a lot stronger. I'd be interested to see where he slots in. He spent 4 seasons at Stony Brook playing 40 games as a Seawolf. So that's at least some testament to his ability to stick in the lineup. We'll have to see how it goes from there. They also signed James Smith, which was, I thought, an interesting signing. Smith was originally signed by the Tennessee Titans in 2021 and tried out for the Ravens in October. This is a connection from down under, which is very cool. He spent 4 seasons at the University of Cincinnati, becoming the UC's all-time leading punter and 4-time all-conference player. So that's cool.
Well, that's where the world players can fit in, right? Kicking. The world plays soccer, and we all know that for years, some of the best kickers in North America were soccer players. The Stampeders also made a move.
Yeah, the Stampeders re-signed Nick Stats. And now he was a rookie in 2021 and made 3 special team tackles in 12 appearances, but was sidelined in week 13 with a shoulder issue. Hopefully he'll be back to full strength. John Huffnagel seems to think that he'll be able to contribute on special teams, and he's hoping for his development to continue in 2022.
The Red Blacks made a couple of moves.
Yeah, they signed a pair of defensive backs. They added Marlo Sean Franklin and Vincent Calhoun. Franklin joined the Red Blacks after spending last year in the European League of Football with the Hamburg Sea Devils. He recorded 22 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles in just 6 games. So he was an active boy. He was also in the 2019 preseason with the BC Lions. Calhoun comes from Michigan State, where he's the all-time leader in the school's history with 49 career games started. Not sure if that means he was held back a year or if he just had extraordinary longevity. They also signed Matthew Dirks, who's a native from Brantford, as well as Nawako from Miramar, Florida, and Arconado, who was a 3-year letter winner with the Washington State Cougars.
The Commissioner Ambrosi is in the East. He visited Hamilton recently. Coming up, as far as I know, it's been very, let's just say, there hasn't been fanfare for his tour. I don't understand it, but that's the truth. He should be doing something in Toronto. When? No clue. Ottawa? No clue. Montreal? No clue. It's just the teams. It's weird. The teams tell you they're waiting to hear from the commissioner, and the CFL office is saying, well, it's up to the teams. So I'm a little confused. But then again, you know what? Not a good omen for the start of the season. I hope things get a little more predictable during the season. Let's go over to the Blue Jays, who had a good start to their season, but now they're hitting a little bit of a problem in there. And I have to say the reason for it is their pitching betrayed them in the first couple of games. They went into the bullpen too many times, and now they've arrived at a position where they have had more innings served by the relievers than the starters. And that's not a good way to go, and that's not very good for the arms in as far as the saves are concerned, and that tells you the starters aren't doing well. And Ryu is hurt, so it's a tough situation for the Jays. They've got a couple of pitchers down, and they're off to a really tough start.
Well, and I mean, Kikuchi didn't have a bad start to the last game. It just he got into a little bit of trouble, threw more pitches than he was planning to, and again they had to go to the well a little too often. He went 5 innings and gave up 1 run on 3 hits. So that was good.
He got in a lot of trouble through the whole game, but he let both teams, the Red Sox and the Jays, the low score was not that they weren't hitting, they weren't bringing players home. And unfortunately for the Jays, they brought 1 less player home.
Exactly. And that was on 3 hits, which was a little interesting.
Little anemic.
I mean, the other part to add to this too is Vasquez and Arauz have been added to the COVID injuries list. So that's Christian Vasquez and infielder Jonathan Arauz have been added to the COVID-related injury list. This is in addition to Kevin Plawecki and 2 staffers testing positive. So they're short a few players there. So some of their offensive deficiencies can certainly be linked to that. And it's still around, folks. Just be aware of that. Kyle Quantrill, Miller, and Castro from the Yankees are also on the COVID-related injured list. So that's a concern to look for as well. I know that there have been reports of rising numbers of COVID recently, and it's just something to be aware of.
Well, there's a lot of good as far as vaccines, and now they're talking about a 4th jab, a 2nd booster, all that stuff, and you know what? It is what it is. Let's go over to hockey and the Habs, and of course the Habs Pezzetta. He's suspended for being a naughty boy. What did he do?
Well, he cross-checked somebody in the head. You can't do that.
With both hands on his
penalty.
stick?
Well, yeah. He got the same penalty as Matthews. So at least we know they're fair in that regard.
Okay. All right. So now we know the Canadian teams pay the price.
Yes, at least in that respect that we do. Yeah.
Not that I'm referring to as any kind of kinship to the Montreal Canadiens. I don't want the Leaf fans to kill me. Also, Talbot shuts out Montreal in Minnesota's 2-0 win.
Yeah, that was
coming back.
It was his 3rd shutout of the season. So that was good for him. He made 26 saves. The real issue that I'm seeing here is Carey Price has been back for 2 games now, and the Habs have lost both and haven't scored a goal. So that seems to me to indicate that the problem may not necessarily have been entirely on Jake Allen or Montembeau
Mhm.
or the flavor of the week that they got to fill in.
Mhm.
It's there are deeper issues here than just goaltending for Montreal.
There's that
So,
thing called run support,
mm-hmm.
and he didn't get it. He hasn't
No,
gotten it so far. You were telling me it before we went on air, you're making the comment, they haven't even scored a goal for him yet.
yep. I'd be very upset if I were Carey at this point.
I can't disagree. How's the COVID situation in Montreal?
I had heard rumors that there were additional players that had been placed on it. Um, I
Well,
mean,
we'll
the
leave it
most
at
recent,
that. We'll leave it at
yeah,
that. You know what
yeah,
the real story is, we'll go there.
yeah.
The Senators, let's talk about them.
So they've been having a bit of a decent run lately. Adam Gaudette scored the winning goal in a shootout last night. I was up until about 1:30 in the morning watching that. Nice to see him get a little bit of revenge against his former team. Alex Formanton and Parker Kelly also scored for Ottawa, while Philip Gustafson had 34 shots in goal, which was pretty good to see. It's been an exciting brand of hockey, and it was good to see them bounce back after the Kraken hung a 4-2 loss on them for their second straight victory.
Well, let's be clear. The Senators, about Christmas time, they were like second from the bottom, and
Yeah.
now they're looking respectable. So that second from the bottom to respectable at this point, it's a lot like the Marner season, right? You want to forget before Christmas, but after Christmas, both Marner and the Ottawa team have been pretty good. Let's talk about the Jets, and it's not looking good for them. Another nail in the old coffin.
Yeah, the Rangers blanked Winnipeg for their third consecutive shutout. The New York Rangers are on a bit of a heater there. It's
Oh, really?
yeah,
Tell
one of
somebody
those
who isn't
things.
surprised.
I mean,
I said 6 weeks ago they're the team to beat in the East.
yeah, and at this point, I don't think Winnipeg really has a chance of making the playoffs. They're currently sitting in 19th overall in the league with 81 points. They'd have to catch Dallas or Los Angeles, who have 91 and 92 points respectively. I don't know if Winnipeg can necessarily do that with just 5 games left, especially with Dallas having a game in hand.
If the Leafs can stay ahead of the Rangers, it could very well mean that the two of them will meet in the final in the Eastern Conference. Sorry.
That could be interesting. An original six matchup like that would be fun.
Well, now that Anderson has developed a bit of an illness, and just when it looks more and more and more and more and more and more like the Bruins will be meeting up with Anderson once again and he can exact some revenge on him. Oh no, maybe he can't. He's not healthy. Boy, this has been, and the toughest part with Anderson, how much I love him. I think he's a great goaltender, but his history says when he gets hurt, he does not recover that quickly.
No,
He
it's been a
doesn't,
persistent issue.
right? When he gets injured, it seems like it goes on forever to the point where the team goes, well, play anyway. And then plays terrible. And then they go, well, he was injured. So why'd you play him? Well, we had no other choice. And I don't think they have another choice in Carolina.
No, that really, unfortunately, they're only going to go as far as their goaltending takes them. And once their main goalie is injured, the cupboards are really bare. It's
They're going to
not
have
a
a
good
lot.
situation
They're
for
going to
them at
have a
all.
lot to prove if they've got to do it with a backup goaltender, especially with the amount that Anderson plays. They really don't even have a goaltender that's proven during the season to be good and then even bad and recover. You know what I mean? Like there just isn't a giant ass sample size.
I mean, you're looking at Pyotr Kochetkov or Antti Ranta. That's
Antti
it.
Ranta's, he has a history. He's had good games, but again, all their goaltending changed in the offseason. So
Now,
these aren't
sorry, I
good.
was going to say Ranta has been giving them a 9-12 this season. So he's been relatively reliable in that regard, but it bears to be seen if he can continue that.
Well, we'll find out. We'll
Yeah.
find out. So we talked about the Jets, the Flames. Markstrom amazes. He had a bad game. He bounced back.
Yeah, no, this was good to see for him. They're starting to get on a roll here, and if they haven't been on a roll already, I'd hate to see what a roll actually looks like. This team looks like they could be monsters come the playoffs.
They could be in the Western Conference Final, and it's not even a stretch.
No, and this is their 7th win in 8 games. So they are definitely, in the pink right now.
Then there's 2 other teams in the West. One in particular, the Edmonton Oilers, who have over this past short stretch have even played better than Calgary. They've done a great job. Their goaltending has basically healed up a little, and their offense is spread out through the team. They're looking like a playoff contender. I mean, they could give Calgary a hard time. Now, that's assuming that an offensive-minded team like the Edmonton Oilers that doesn't have much of a reputation defensively against a team that is basically made for the playoffs. So that would be an interesting battle. Whether that happens in the first or second round, I'm looking forward to a battle between the Flames and Oilers. I hope they don't play the first round, and I hope they don't play it till the end of the Western Conference, but there's not much chance of that. They'll probably run into each other just before the conference finals. But regardless, that'll be a great series to watch, and it'll be a great one to watch the fans watch.
Oh, most definitely, because you've got the Sea of Red versus the Oilers, and that's just going to be amazing. It's good to see that the Oilers have been 8-1-1 in their past 10, matching up nice with Calgary's 7-2-1. The Oilers have actually won their last 2 games, so we'll have to see where they end up at the end of this week, because that'll be telling.
Well, 10 days left. The Canucks. If only they could sneak in, that would really put a wrench into the Canadian version of the playoffs. It'd be awesome. And this team has played so well. Pettersson has found his game. Aaron, this team we've enjoyed watching, like we have Ottawa, except for they have a legitimate chance, however small, to make the playoffs.
Now, they're currently sitting tied with Vegas for 4th in the Pacific Division. Both teams are sitting on 87 points right now. The difference being that Vegas has 41 wins to Vancouver's 38, but Vancouver's managed to secure more pity points over that period of time.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that goes.
They got the breaking. Never mind. Anyway,
they got the tiebreaker. Yeah,
they got the tiebreaker, and I think Dallas is the team that they're chasing.
Dallas is the team that both Vegas and Vancouver are chasing. Dallas is at 91 points, and Vegas and Vancouver are both at 87.
The Leafs tried to help Vancouver. They beat Dallas twice in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but
some people just don't know how to accept help. I'm telling you. Those Westerners, they just, even when we're trying to help them, they just, they have to ruin our kindness. Unbelievable. But good luck to the Canucks. I really hope they make it. It'll be great. And then, of course, there's the Maple Leafs. Campbell wins his 30th of the season. The Leafs beat the Flyers. It was a game that I'm not going to say was slow, but it did lack some sort of energetic level, maybe.
Possibly. I mean, there was a spirited tilt between Lyubushkin, and Todd McEwen.
Did you see how that started? I
did, and
Lyubushkin got pissed.
Yeah, and I don't blame him.
He went looking for him
to take his head off.
He went looking for him. He was waiting for him. He almost got him at the blue line. He said, "Okay, I'll have to turn around and play defense." And
now, the good news out of all of this, is that Nylander finally set a career high in goals with 32.
No, let's talk about the fight. Forget the goal. No, just kidding. But that was a heck of a message to send. The scouts and other players are watching that. They're going, wait a second. When you cross the Leaf blue line, someone might actually try to take your head off. Now, I'm exaggerating, but the message is there, right? It's not like you just can't cross the Leaf blue line haphazardly. You have to think about what you're going to do there. And isn't that what the job of the defenseman is? To make it difficult for the offense of the other team to feel free to do whatever they want to do?
That's generally the idea. I was actually kind of wondering what the Leafs were planning on doing with some of the lines that they had in place, especially with putting Abruzzese in there. Abruzzese in there.
I don't agree with that. I can't believe he tells him that's how you say it. There's no G in his name.
No, he says Abruzzese.
Okay. There's no G in his name.
No, SH. Sure.
Oh, okay.
But putting Mikheyev, Tavares, and Blackhole on the first line was a choice. You got to admit. And following that up with Engvall, Kerfoot, Nylander, Bunting, Abruzzese, and Marner, and then Simmons, Kampf, and Spezza was just.
And the goal. We
Oh.
can't leave the show without talking about the vintage goal scored yesterday.
That goal, Sportsnet stats, I believe, mentioned the fact that is
109.
a combined age of 109 years old between Giordano, Simmons, and Spezza, and that was a dynamite bang bang play too.
It sure was. And the young guy, the young guy, the 34-year-old, was the one standing still.
Not to mention Keith Yandle was on his butt.
Oh yeah, well, he's never mind. He's played a lot of games. You got to cut him some slack. Mind you, though, he had a couple of days off.
He did. They broke his Ironman streak, but what are you going to do?
Yeah. It was an interesting game, to say the least, and that was really a great goal by them. And I called for them getting veterans for years, and right from the time that they signed the four big guys. I felt that's what they had to do, and it was on this show, not this show, this one, but the one I did with David when we did Leaf Talk. I said it then, and I'm glad it's working out, because I really believe, and this is the other thing, Aaron. Do you remember the Stanley Cup in 1967?
I was 8 years away from being born.
So you have no recollection then? Is that what you're telling me?
I do not. My father remembers it.
But allow me to help you with your recollection. The Maple Leaf team in 1967 was a bunch of old players. We're talking 40-year-olds, and they won the Stanley Cup. I like the symmetry that's going on here with the oldies that they have now. Some old wily veterans. There's a symmetry with them having an opportunity to do that. And the next show, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to get ready for it. I hope you're ready for the question on Friday. Here's the question. If the Leafs win the Cup, who will Keefe have on the ice with seconds remaining in the game? You see what I'm saying? Isn't that an interesting question? Isn't that a tough question? I'd love to ask Keith that question.
Man, that is something I'm going to have to think on.
That's why I said you can wait till Friday. Let's go on to some shenanigans. There's some going on in Calgary. What's going on newsworthy there?
Well, there was a gentleman who's been trying to find his dad. He tried a couple of years ago to try to start finding his dad, but it turns out that the person he actually thought was his father was actually somebody he already knew. He thought he was going to have to try to find him because he thought he was adopted.
But he already knew him.
Yeah, he already knew him. They were friends on Facebook.
And because they had the same last name? I don't know.
Well, his father, Roger Arsenault, had worked together in a New Brunswick mall.
Oh, okay. So well, his last name's Arsenault. You know how many Arsenauts there are in the East Coast? That we'll move on from that one. The Canadian climate goals set high hurdle for Suncor Oil Sands. They can't meet it.
Yeah, this is an issue that they realized they were going to have to deal with when it comes to the exhaust gases that were going to be generated by creating and expanding the mine. So it's going to be an issue for them.
Okay, last one. What we hear are the troops, the Canadian troops, less of them have been kicked out because of unvaccination.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people had said that it was going to be around 200 or 300 people. The military reported 600 armed forces members, but it actually turns out it was only 58 people so far. 39 involuntarily released, and then another 206 were in the process of being forced out, but nowhere near the 600 originally predicted.
Oh, well. Well, it is what it is. Aaron, thanks for this.
Thank you, Frank.
All right, for Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news and entertainment sports programming we offer, check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.